Hey, welcome to Joseph's Reserves. I have out my personal penny collection, or the 1 cent collection that I have here. If you've been following along my video, you know that we're doing some penny hunt and fill episodes. This is my personal collection here. I'm wanting to fill this up as much as we can so that it doesn't take away from the penny hunt boxes that we have. When I find one that I don't have in my personal collection, I filter it through this collection first. So what I decided to do was go ahead and go onto eBay and purchase a roll of wheat cents with one Indian head ender. So let's go ahead and open this up, and we're going to see what holes we can fill so that we stop taking away from the boxes that we're hunting to build our Series 1 book. All right, everyone, we have here our roll of pennies. And the pennies that I ordered, the description said wheat penny roll, 50% pre-40s with an Indian head ender. So what I'm expecting is 25 coins to be pre-40s, 25 to be 40s and 50s, and then at least one steel cent. So I am expecting that to be the case. I don't have a magnet, otherwise I would test it right now, but I would rather be surprised and see what it is as it comes out. So I'm going to be going through and kind of doing my best to grade these coins. I'm not a professional grader. I just am learning to have an eye for grade and condition. So it's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be absolutely correct, but I'll give it my best shot. So let's go ahead and open this up and get into it. I'm going to be as careful as I can with these. I already saw it's a 40s coin. Yeah, right there in the end. 1948 Philadelphia there on the end. And on the other end you can already see, looks like an 1897. I'm going to go ahead and make sure you see all this copper coming out. Oh, it looks like there is a steel cent. And it looks to be of an older look, meaning not those refinished ones. I believe in the 60s or 70s there was a bunch of people or maybe a company that was replating them in zinc. And on my last hunt, box number 3, I believe, we actually found a zinc plated memorial cent, so that was pretty interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and pull this out. It'll be a 1943. Oh wow, that looks great. Maybe this is replated. (1943) Denver. Yeah, I'm not sure if it is just in a really good condition or if it's replated. So I'm just going to value it as if it is replated. Wow, that's pretty awesome. That is great. Great start. All right, let's take a look at this Indian head cent. Yeah, so at 1897, you can see not much of liberties left. Looks like maybe the top of a few letters, but there is a little bit of detail in the feathers. So I'm going to go through, pull out all these coins, separate them by decade, and then I'll go back later and grade them off camera and separate them by grade and come back and talk about how I would value these coins. All right, off to a good start. All right, 1914. Pretty awesome. Teens right off the bat. 25. This is a 100-year-old coin. Oh, jeez. 100-year-old coin right there. Set that aside on the 20s. We're going up in a decade each time. 1930s. 1930s. That was 24 million. Not quite a key date. If it was a 31, especially the 31s, that would have been amazing. But 1930s is 24 million. This 1925 from Philadelphia, that is 140 million. It's quite a lot for that time. This 1914, that is 75 million, which is, again, for that time, is quite a lot. The 14 Denver is another key date that we could have been looking for with that 31s. So just off slightly for some key dates there. Trying to be careful, I end up dropping more and more of these. All right, 51 Denver. First one in the 50s. Let's see, this one has a mintage of 625 million. Quite a common one there. I'm just going to quickly glance at the mintage. If it's a 20s or teens, maybe also in the 30s, we'll talk about it. So it's 29. Where is it? Oh, 185 million. So not quite uncommon there yet. Where are you? There. 38. So it's 157 million. A 1957. A 1941. A 44 San Francisco. Oh, a 1911. That one's a mintage of 101 million. Not rare, but old. I like to see it. That's awesome. 1938. Another one over 100 million. 1950, San Francisco. Another 1944. 1945. I see a nice red one coming up. Look at that. Oh, 1915 from Denver. Teens with a mint mark. Let's see. Only 22 million were minted. That's awesome. Another 1944. All right, here's a nice red one. A 1955 Denver. And we'll definitely be keeping account that this is a pretty red coin when we go to grade it. Definitely an uncirculated coin. So that is quite awesome. $1929. $27. 144 million. Another 1944. Another 1925, a 100-year-old coin. That's still pretty awesome. A 1917 with a little bit of damage right there, but that's okay. Looks like there might be either a scratch or a die chip right through that 9. Let me take a closer look at that. That actually, it looks like a die crack and then even a lamination error right there above the 17. Very interesting coin right there. And the 17 from Philadelphia looks like, yeah, 196 million. It's one of the highest minted. A 36 from San Francisco. That one's only 29 million minted. Say 42. A 46. 54 San Francisco. Say 36. 1925. 26. 1950. 1939. 45 San Francisco. 44 Denver. 47. 37. 51. 1934. A 1919. I actually just found one of these coin roll hunting. So that's pretty awesome. We'll be able to put this one into my personal collection when we found coin roll hunting into the Series 1. A 49 from San Francisco. Another 44. Oh, 1919 San Francisco. That one also has over 100 million minted. A 1949. 1920 Denver. Let's see, 20 Denver has only 49 minted. That's pretty awesome. A 46 from San Francisco. Another 1925. Another 1945. $1951. A 1935. A 1920. And the last coin, a 1948. So that's pretty much what I expected from this. Let's go ahead and show what we have here. Okay, so here we have everything laid out by grade and decade. Before we get into each coin, I wanted to show you real quick what we ended up getting. So first, my expectations. I said earlier in this video that I expected 25 coins pre-40s, 25 coins 40s and 50s. Well, first off, we ended up with 52 coins. So I guess I would just change that to be 26 and 26. Since they did say 40% would be these pre-40s coins. Real quick, I'll let you know that's exactly what happened. It was 26 pre-40s and 26 40s and 50s. I did say I expected to get at least one steel cent, which we did end up with one steel cent. Here, I'll check these off as we go through. So yes, we did get half pre-40s, half pre-50s, exactly 1 steel cent. We did end up with a 1 Indian cent. I didn't expect to get any more. I did say in a previous video, this was in the unboxing video of this roll, I said it's possible we'd be getting 1/1909. If I pack this myself, this is what I would try to include. 1/1909. I didn't expect it to be a VDB. Definitely not an S mint mark. A 1909 VDB would be more plausible than the S mint mark. So we did not get that, but I did not have high hopes for that. I said 3 to 4 from the 10s. We actually ended up with 6 coins from the 1910s. I said 10 from the 20s and 30s, thinking that 3 to 4 plus this and the Indian cent would kind of make up that 25. Well, we ended up needing to fill 26 because they had extra coins in there, but there was exactly 10 from the 20s, so that was spot on. And it was so close, there was 9 from the 30s. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that was a close enough call there. I didn't check out 3 to 4, they exceeded that with 6. So that's pretty awesome that we had even more older than what I was expecting. And then the rest I said probably 15 to 20 from the 50s, and maybe not that much because I know there's going to be a lot from the 1940s. That's pretty much exactly what happened. Most of them were from the 40s. It was 18 that fell within that 15 to 20. I know I did say 15 to 20 from the 50s, but I just flopped these of how they were actually made there. Or I guess how they were actually put in that roll. They were mostly 40s, and I was expecting mostly 50s. So if anything, this roll not only completely exceeded my expectation as far as there was 2 extra coins in there, but in addition to that, there was more 1910s than I expected, and the bulk of it was the 1940s instead of the 1950s, which older is always better. So now that we went over that, let's talk about how I valued each of these coins. So these heavy hitters, let's start here. The Indian cent, I gave it a very good grade. There was not very much detail in the headband. You can get a few of the letters. There's about half of the letter from the top part of the letter. There is some feather detail, so I gave this a very good grade. Not quite a fine grade. So I was seeing these sell on eBay for about $3 to $5. This steel cent, it's a refinished steel, so you can tell the difference between this one and the one that I have here, where this one, it is still the silvery looking color. However, you can tell that this is the original look to it because it is a little more dull. Possibly some corrosion spots there. This one looks like it might have been, or it definitely was replated with the zinc. So because of that, it's almost like a cleaned coin, and it's definitely treated that way when it goes to sell. So I said about 50 cents to $2. $2 is the refinished ones where they're looking really, really nice. So even the $2 is a bit of a stretch here for this coin. This uncirculated 1950s, 1955 Denver. It is very red looking. That one, I was finding uncirculated 50s coins selling for $2 to $5. And then the runners-ups or the close calls here, or I guess the more high value coins just by grade, we had these two 40s coins that I gave an AU grade. And that was mostly because of the detail around the ears, as well as the definition in the cheekbone. And on the reverse, having all of those lines in the wheat, on the tops of the wheats. So yeah, I gave these an AU, not quite mint state, but likely a low AU grade. And then I also gave this 1930s an XF. Again, the cheekbone, the detail around the ear, and the bow tie. And then we do have those full lines in the wheats. So those AU from the 40s I was seeing sell for $1 to $2. And then this XF from the 30s, 50 cents to $1. The rest of the XFs were from the 40s and 50s. So because these are very, very common date coins, I was seeing them sell in bulk bins for about 50 cents a piece. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube saying that 40s and 50s, you can get them in bulk bins at a coin shop for 3 cents a piece. A lot of those videos are 5 to 10 years old at this point. Today in 2025, they have stopped minting the penny, or supposedly they have. It's March right now, and we're waiting for the next mintage numbers to come out so that we can find out whether or not they have actually stopped. So there's word about stopping minting the penny. There's a little bit of talk about the penny even in the public. And I see the value of pennies up quite a bit right now. So I think 50 cents for each of these coins is not quite overpriced, especially because people are going to start looking at the grade of each individual coin, likely from now on. So as we come down to the very fine, this is where we found the bulk of our coins here. So 50s, 40s, and 30s, even some from the 20s. So here I have this note. The 30s, 40s, and 50s, I'd give 10 cents to 25 cents each for this very fine grade, and then about $1 each for the 20s because they are so much older. Then we have our fine coins. The fine coins we have in the 30s and 40s. So these ones I gave 25 cents each, and then as we get down to the 20s, 50 cents each. We do have these very good grades. This very good 40s kind of surprised me, is a 40s San Francisco, and is pretty worn, very much so compared to all the other 40s that we saw. You see we're starting to lose a lot of the lines on the wheat. We're starting to lose definition around the ear, like quite a bit of definition around the ear. Almost no hair detail around the ear is even visible, so that's why I gave this a very good. Same with the 20s and 10s, so the very good. I gave that a 5 because I feel like at this low of a 5 cents. At this low of a grade, that is quite, like, pretty much close to copper melt value, and it's a super common year. 44 San Francisco. Let's see, I have the mintages right here in my book. 44 San Francisco, there was 283 million minted. So while it is the lowest of this year, the 44 that year, there was just so many minted that it's such a common year. So we get down to the 20s and then the 10s. Even in the very good grade, I gave 25 cents per of the 1920s and $1 in the 10s. Good and very good is kind of where you expect the 10s coins to be. However, they are so old. They're well over 100 years old now. We're in 2025, so most of these coins are 110, like 105 to 115 years old. So I gave $1 to these ones in a slightly better condition, and then 50 cents to the ones in a good grade. The 20s, that's where you start seeing in this good grade, kind of similar to these 1940, where down in this grade, it matters a little bit that it's from the 20s, but even after that, it wouldn't matter at all. I would have given them all the 5 cents. So down here we have some honorable mentions, these errors that were found. So these aren't really minting errors. These are actually both related to the metal composition, I guess you'd say. This is a lamination error. So as you can see, there's a mark right above the 1917, and that mark is a bit of a peeling. So the composition of the metal was so that it actually started to come off from other parts of the metal, almost like there was another layer that started to peel off. Now, most of these that I saw online were way more dramatic than that, affecting either an entire stripe of the coin, half of the coin, or anything like that. Those were selling for easily $15 to $20. One with a small mark like this, I did see sell for the $8, but most of them were in the $5 range. That's why I gave this this evaluation here of $5. Then we have this 1919 San Francisco. I call it a half woody. A woody is these lines here that give it almost like a wood grain effect. You can see it affecting the left side there above Liberty and part of Lincoln's head and shoulder. Now, it's possible that these could be considered just scratches. However, I feel that if they were just scratches, they would have had a higher effect on the rim, as well as the word liberty and the words in God right there. So I do believe this is a composition error. That's what causes these lines to show up, is just the mixing of the metals, the copper with the brass and tin that's in these bronze cents. So you can see there it did affect about half the coin. So similar to the other case where there are much more severe cases or much more obvious cases, they're selling for significantly more. In this case, $10 to $15. Something like this, it would have been typically grouped with other coins just to raise the price a little bit. So I gave it a $2 evaluation. So overall, I evaluated at $28.15, and that is for the low end of any that has a range. So these ones that were 10 to 25 cents, I counted $10. The 3 to 5 or 50 to $2, that's the $3 one, the 50-cent one, the $2 one, $1 and 50 cents over here. That all totaled up to $28.15. And if you remember, I spent $47 on it. That was my cost, and this is what I evaluated the coins to be. Most of these, it's not like I would go find someone on the street, see this, and trade them for 50 cents. Right? Most of these, in order to sell them for these values, I would have to have them kind of bulked together. Maybe in a year run would fetch a little bit more, or likely when I do fill out a book, I could sell the entire book and use these values to kind of bolster up the value of a bulk or book sell like that. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not a professional grader, so that's why I didn't try to go with a specific value number. See, I just went AU or XF. I wasn't really trying to put an exact number to it. So here, let's start with the mint state. I wasn't really able to see any evident signs of wear. You do see some slight discoloration on the cheek and jawline, but there's no flatness involved there. On the reverse, every detail is evident. So that's why I chose mint state with this. Also, it is red. I know that they can be red even in an AU state, but for it to be completely red like that, it seems like it would be a mint state. Here's AU. So in this one, you can see a little bit more wear on his cheek and jawline, and you can still see quite a bit of hair detail. And around the ear, you can even see the line that separates the ear from the hair. There's lots of detail still in his bow tie and his jackets as well. And again, full lines all the way across the wheat ears. And still all the detail left in the grains of the wheat. Let's see, we'll pick out an XF coin. So here you start to see some flatness starting in his cheek and jawline. However, you can still see a lot of hair detail, a lot of the ear separation from the hair, still very defined details. The wheat ears are still full lines all the way across. There is a little bit of damage on this one here with a scratch. So that would probably put this in a lower XF range. Honestly, that scratch would probably make it ungradable in general. All right, let's move on to these very fines here. So again, you can see a little bit more wear, a little bit less hair detail, more flatness in the cheek and jawline. Let's see the reverse. Still seeing full lines in the wheat ears, but some details in the grains are starting to get lost. And then all the way down to the fine. So in fine, we're starting to see no longer separation from the cheek and jawbone. There's a little bit of separation, but not as distinct. The ear is kind of starting to fuse into the hair, the hairlines, but we do still have some hair detail, some separation from his forehead and the hair. This is where we're starting to lose some of those lines that are separating the different grains of wheat on the tips of the wheat ears. Then at very good, we already took a closer look at the 40s one. Let's pick a different one. We're starting to see complete flatness of the side of his head. His ear is almost fused in with the hair. You can really only distinguish where his ear is based on the inner portions of his ear, and his hair has lost almost all detail. And then on this good examples, almost entirely flat on the ear and hair details. There's absolutely no distinction between his jawline and his cheekbone. This one specifically, there is a little bit more detail left in his bow tie, but the wheat ears, the lines there are almost completely gone. Let me see if I can pick another one. Yeah, see, his ear is almost indistinguishable from where his hair is. There's no distinguishing between the cheekbone and the jawbone. All right, let me know what you think about the grades, what you think about the value that I gave each coin. Let's go ahead and put these coins in my book. All right, the final recap of this eBay wheat cent hunt. So the first thing I did was go back to my box hunt videos and saw the 4 coins that I put in my personal collection instead of the Series 1 collection. I was able to swap those out with coins I found in this hunt, so now the Series 1 collection is all caught up. We have no Series 1 coins from our boxes in either of these folders. Next thing, I just went through and figured out which ones I could upgrade or fill. So if a coin went in either the big book or the 40s and 50s smaller book, we counted it as a fill. If it upgraded the big book and then went down into the overlap smaller book, we counted that as a fill as well. If it upgraded here, which then upgraded here and ended up in a coin, we counted that as an upgrade. Or if it just upgraded this book, again, an upgrade. So what we ended up getting is 19 fills and 13 upgrades. I'm realizing that I forgot to count the steel cent here. That was the first one I put in, so I forgot to write that in that list. So 20 spots were filled. This is the steel cent that it upgraded. I know I talked about how this one is refinished. This one would still hold more value than this steel cent here. I did set aside the 1917 with the lamination error and this half woody, what I'm calling a half woody 1919 San Francisco, and the Indian cent. I don't have a book for the Indian cents yet. I'll be getting that soon. But this one actually does fill a hole in my folder that is not, I don't have this date yet. So I guess that's also a fill there. And then I have the rest of them. I separated them in 50s and 40s and pre-40s there. You can tell this is more than a roll. I had almost a roll from what I've found in previous hunts, so I just added that to my previous collection. So that's it for today. If you guys like the video, please like the video, share it with someone who you think might like it, and if you like this type of content, please subscribe. Have a good day.